I look so short.
You are short.
Sit up. All right, are we live?
We're live. We're live everywhere.
Welcome to the Fast Cat Podcast. I'm your host, Frank Overton. Some call me the Big Cat. And today we have a special cyclocross training podcast because we have Coach Brandon Dwight in the house.
Say something.
Hello.
Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Yeah. And of course, we always have Jackson Long.
The one and only.
And Brand Stark.
Brand Stark, yes. Actually, at Flag Week yesterday, someone came up to me, like, sitting after the ride, and was like, has anyone ever told you look like that guy from Game of Thrones? I'm like, yeah, all the time. I'm the king of the Six Kingdoms.
Yeah, you're Stark.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh, man. I'm only in season 7.
I've never watched an episode.
Oh, it's really good.
Might be my secret training ride video. Or
you
binge watching this
be
winter.
Perfect for a winter base.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are, like, as I noticed, we are talking about cyclocross training, specifically what cyclocross training you should be doing in June, because hashtag cyclocross is coming. How many weeks do we have, Brandon?
About 13.
13 weeks to go.
Race.
Depends on when you're starting. I mean, I think August 31st is a Saturday, which I think a lot of people are trying to. There's a lot of races that day, and I think that's the kickoff of most seasons, most series around the country. And
13 weeks,
so
folks.
is that 13? Right around there, 12,
Yeah.
13. So
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what you do right now will largely impact how well you do this fall.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that today. And we have Brandon as an expert to educate us.
But check these out.
I'll do my
Oh,
best.
yeah. Everyone, couple of announcements first. We have hashtag FTFP
Hold on, turn around there.
t-shirts.
There you go.
You can get yours at the Fast Cat website, $24, and we'll ship them to you. That includes tax and shipping. And as a reminder, that's my 15-year-old summer job. So order up and put her to work. Also, one final announcement. It's Father's Day coming up, and we have a Father's Day sale going on. It just started this morning. Use the 25% discount code Father's Day 19 to get a discount off any plan, not just cyclocross, road, mountain, gravel, all the plans on our website. But we are going to talk about one of the cyclocross training plans that we recommend for the summer. And that's kind of the nature of our talk today is what you should be doing in June. And thus, I'll leave it to Brandon to get into that. But I'd like to introduce him first because Brandon's very humble. Brandon is the brand manager of Donnelly Bikes and Tires. He's also a 4-time Masters National Cyclocross champion. 4 times, folks.
Man.
And before that, he was pretty damn good in the professional ranks. Has raced over in Europe, has participated in what used to be called the Super Cup series.
The first major series that went around the country was called the Super Cup.
Mhm.
That was a great
Back
series.
in the day.
Yeah, and then it kind of morphed into the Crank Brothers
That's right.
Grand Prix, and now it's kind of a hodgepodge of UCI races around the country. But
Mhm.
yeah, I've been doing it for a while. Got the gray hair to show it.
Brandon is pioneered, at least here in Colorado, focusing on cyclocross exclusively. When I took up cyclocross, it was something you did as an afterthought to your road or mountain bike season. And it was fun, and that's what a lot of people were doing. And people like Brandon came along and were like, I'm going to focus on this exclusively. And they did really well. And everyone was like, oh, that's how you do it.
Well, when you kind of suck at road racing and you're mediocre at mountain biking, but you find something you're okay at, you
Jump in.
I jumped in, but
Focus.
yeah, and then that sort of happened just organically over the years, just with the cycling racing. Like, people would say to me, basically right around now, like start of June, I'm done with road. I'm done with mountain. I'm focusing on cross.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of take a little break, regroup, and then focus on cyclocross training. So.
That's how you do it, folks. And like in our forum that we moderate, a lot of people ask us, and I think you've written a training tip on this, to race or not to race.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to focus on cyclocross, but then they also have like FOMO of like, should I do this race and that race? And I think that's a big training talking point to a lot of athletes out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I say in the article, you only have so many matches to burn, and you can certainly incorporate racing into your training, but it needs to be planned out. You can't just race and expect to be faster on the cross bike or do well in those races if you're not planning it out properly.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, and then let's get into it. Let's get into what you should be doing in June. And Bran here is a cyclocross newbie.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
we're gonna try to talk him into racing.
Are you gonna
cyclocross.
try this one?
No.
Come
Maybe.
on.
I don't know.
We're gonna get you out there. Yeah.
Can I ride
Drink
on
the
my
Kool-Aid.
Can I ride it on my Niner gravel bike?
Of course. Yeah.
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 Okay. Well, then maybe I'll try it.
We'll just have you put
I'm
on
just-
some
I'm-
Donnelly cyclocross tires.
I'm just like, my bike handling skills are atrocious. So
Hello.
I know, that's why I'm here. I gotta get my questions asked.
There's a discount on the
Answer.
plans. We can get you set up.
Yeah, exactly.
We also have a new bunny hopping video, speaking of skills, and it's on our YouTube channel, and it's included in this June cyclocross training tip that Brandon has, and it's number 4 on the top 10 things you should be doing in June, and everyone can practice and learn how to bunny hop. Brandon shows you how to do it in 3 steps.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but it's certainly a skill that you can learn, and like anything, just try to incorporate it into your program and make it part of the routine. So
yeah, let's get into it. I think we're kind of going off of this secret training, because that's another Brandon invention, right? Is
Brandonism.
Brandonism, secret training, hashtag secret training.
What is secret training,
Because I think,
Brandon?
yeah,
Well, in a nutshell, it's basically quality, not quantity, when it comes to training. So secretly, waking up early, getting down in the basement, getting on the trainer if you have to, sneaking in a ride before work, maybe at your lunch break, doing some stretching before bed, just the little things you can do to stay fit, get fast, have a good race season. Sometimes people say, well, I only have 15 minutes to stretch. Like, it's not worth it. It's totally worth it. Or I only have an hour to ride. You can get a lot done in an hour, but you have to plan it out, get things prepared, maximize your time. And that's what I had to do as a husband, business owner, father of 2, and time was limited. So I just had to maximize everything I had.
And then whenever we saw Brandon out on the bike, we would
Right.
just heckle him and say, "Your secret training."
Right.
well, and I think, at least in this, maybe my first new question is, why should you train for cyclocross starting in June? Like, why? Like, if it's road season, I guess it depends. If you're a pure cyclocross racer, although I don't know many pure cyclocross racers, but what is the benefit of starting to train for cyclocross specifically this time of year?
Well, I think it's a great question. There's what I think a lot of people do is they just focus on, they think that if they just race road or mountain, they're going to have the fitness to jump into a cross race. And maybe years ago that was okay because people weren't focusing on their starts or their dismounts and remounts or how efficiently they run, agility, balance, power through the sand, riding technical terrain. Now everyone's hyper focused on cross. So if you don't do those things, you're going to get beat by the people that are. So now it's important to build that foundation, work on the basics, refine your skills, improve what you're weak at, and then come cross season, hopefully you're good to go.
And it takes practice, and it's not something that you can like flip a switch in September and start your running or you're working on your corner. And you have to kind of, like what we said in the bunny hopping video, practice. And you got to, what's it, the 10,000 hour rule?
Right.
I think Brandon's approaching the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah, probably.
So, but yeah, you got to practice, and it helps to start now.
Yeah,
So I guess that leads us into tip number 1. Keep on keeping on. So basically, it just means keep up with what you've been doing. If you're with us now, or you've been doing some working with a coach, you're probably doing some stretching, doing some core work, doing some strength training, working on some of the skills. And basically, it's just to remind you, like, don't stop. It's kind of like, I use the analogy a lot, like one of the best free throw shooters in the NBA. Even though he can nail 100 in a row every time, they keep practicing. Or taking ground balls, if you're a Major League Baseball player, like, yeah, you can do that all day long, but you got to keep working on the basics. You can never let go of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that look like in terms of specific cyclocross? Like, that's not just training, like on the bike stuff. Are you talking like skills as well?
Well, on the bike skills, like dismounting, remounting, shouldering your bike, carrying your bike. And those are things that you should be incorporating into your training now, as you get closer to the season, because soon you'll be doing on the bike. It's like you're already doing on the bike cyclocross training, but you're going to start doing like mock races where that stuff should just come natural to you. Like, you want to basically go into the season, and when you're like approaching a barrier, you're not thinking about, oh shit, here comes the barrier. I need to unclip, put my leg through, grab my top tube, shoulder. This should all just happen just subconsciously.
Yeah, second nature.
Right.
And speaking of your question, and just speaking about it from we're talking about it, but putting that into a plan in our cyclocross summer plan. I think on Thursdays is where we have it. Most athletes do like a skills day. And that's when you're going to do like 15 dismounts and remounts in the park. That's when you're going to, make up a mock cyclocross course to work on your cornering and bring a barrier and do your bunny hops and all that stuff. But it begins now, and it's just practice, repetition. Yeah. Batting. What do they call it? At bats in the batting cages. Yep. Got balls on the range.
Get that batting average up.
Putts on the green. Yeah.
I don't golf.
Neither do I. Okay.
All right. Number 2, ramp it up. Basically, this means you're going to start doing some intervals. The intensity is going to go up. The duration of some of the rides might go down. More focus specific efforts, various lengths and intensities, and all focused on trying to get you fast for 45 minutes to an hour. Most non-pros are going to race 40 to 45 minutes. So that's a short amount of time. And within that 45 minutes, even though people say it's like an hour in hell or it's an hour of pain or whatever, there's a lot of recovery in there. And it's very similar to doing like an interval workout. You have a start, you hit the first bunch of corners, you're just coasting through, you're flowing through, navigating the terrain. There's no power output. Those are the times you should be taking some micro recoveries and then full gas again. And you just do that over and over again. And we need to get people to be able to do that for 45 minutes. So the intensity comes up now, and the duration starts to go down. Makes sense.
Yeah. And along those lines, it's like you really got to put a lot into every workout. Sure. That's number 3. You're no slacking. You gotta have a purpose each day you get out there.
Yeah. This isn't the time where if you're lucky enough to not have to work or have kids to pick up from camp after, or after school or something like that. Yeah, you can go and meet your buddies at the coffee shop and hang out for half hour and go do your 3-4 hour ride and go back and take your nap. But if you're like most of us, it's okay. I'm out the door at 7. I'm back by 8:30. So I can get ready to go to work. So know what your workout is. It could be like 15-minute warm up, boom, start your intervals, 15-minute cool down, you're home, recovery drink, off to work.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Secret training.
Yeah. So, is this specifically for people that are kind of solely focused on cyclocross? Like, what if you're also racing on the road during this time? Can you also integrate some of this stuff into a road plan, or doing some gravel stuff?
Certainly, I would say that you would want to make it so that you'd have to have the mindset like the results I get in this road or this gravel race aren't my top priority. But you could certainly go do a gravel race as a long endurance ride on the weekend or something like that. And if you were feeling spunky, you could, hit it hard up a few climbs or something like that, or jump into a local crit or whatever it might be.
I get that question a lot. And I think the answer is, to echo what Brandon said, there's two parts to it. The first conversation you want to have is what are you focusing on? Are you focused on road, gravel, or is your primary goals lie in cyclocross? And if it's cyclocross, which is what we're talking about, you will do these races for training, and you kind of have to check your ego and let the results go. And just remember to keep your eyes on the prize for the fall, if you're going to use those races as effective preparation. Like doing a gravel race is going to be better than doing a 5-hour training ride on the weekend, but you just have to not put too much into the results of that gravel race,
because you're not necessarily working on the skills or the specific
or the endurance. Yeah. You're using that as training for the cross season. Yeah. Then the other part of that question is, and this is Brandon's tip, to race or not to race. For the athletes that don't want to check their ego or want to put effort into the race or set a goal, it's like, well, we're really just focusing on training right now. And this is, to your point about the matches, you have so many matches to do per year. And it's like, well, if you want to be racing in December, maybe not do much racing in June and July to stay fresh, so you can race cross strong all fall. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Moving on.
Number 4, the skills that pay the bills. So we kind of touched on this already, but it's practicing all those things you're going to need to excel at to have a good cyclocross season. Or a good cyclocross race. Starts, cornering, dismounts, remounts, riding through sand, balance. I mean, you can find some fun stuff to play with in a local park. We have a park in our area here where there's a concrete divider between a garden and a grass area, and I'll sometimes go over there and try to balance on it and see how far I can go without dabbing or things like that. Mix it up with some dismounts, remounts, starts, and then of course the bunny hopping one that we have this great video on. and with bunny hopping, it's we're not, as we mentioned in the video, we're not trying to get you to be able to easily go over a UCI legal height barrier. It's really so that you can go over basically just a curb or a small log or some sort of little culvert in the course without slowing down, and do it with confidence and with ease. And it's a skill that you may never use it, but there's going to come a time when you're really going to need it, and it's going to help out quite a bit. So.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest things, what freaks me out about cyclocross. It's I know that I could have the engine or the training, just from my background in cycling, and that I would maybe do okay, but that I would just be dead last because I would be awkwardly dismounting and just not crashing because I would try to bunny hop something and just fall. So it's I think it's an interesting sport in that sense, that skills are such an important piece, and that you can't really just mimic that by just going out and riding like you do on the road.
I mean, it's a great point, and it's one of the things I've always loved about cross is that it's more than just who has the highest power output or VO2 max. It's you have to have those things, but you also want to. What you lack in fitness, you can make up for it in skill, which always worked out really well for me. But you look at Matthew Vanderpool, and I mean, the guy's got the full package. I mean, obviously we're talking about somebody who's the best of the best, but the guy can handle a bike like nobody else. And that's why he's the best in the world. But you can also see how some of his cyclocross skills also help him on the mountain bike and in the road when he's finding his way to the finish line in a group sprint or whatever it might be. So
I always think one of the revelations I had as a cyclocross racer is that when I first got started, I put a lot into fitness and just training intervals and base and just hard rides, and I kind of neglected the skills part of cyclocross training. And there are guys that we race with that are the opposite. They may not ride their bike that much, or it's just kind of their nature, but they can handle the bike really well, and they've worked on it and they've gotten good at it. Maybe they came from like a BMX background or motocross. They just can corner like nobody's business. Like Michael Robson and I, we did a podcast on cornering.
Yeah.
And he's the best in the business, I think. And he can just put us to the woodshed in a twisty, turny course with very little, no offense, Michael, fitness. And that's what makes him a good cross racer. So I guess my point is it's 50% skills and 50% training. And like Vanderpool, if you do both, that's where you're going to be really, have a great cyclocross
Yeah, and
season.
one thing we often talk about with skills and those types of things, we always talk about starts, we always talk about dismounts and remounts, and it seems like we always end with a word in cornering, but cornering really should be first.
Yeah.
It's people lose so much time in the corners, going into them the wrong way, coming out of them the wrong way, being in the wrong gear, too much brake, not having the right tire pressure. And I think if you want to spend more time, if you only had a limited amount of time, I would focus more on cornering above all else.
Yeah. Yeah. And this goes back to like on a Thursday, for example, when you're doing your zone 2 ride, instead of doing that on the road or gravel, go to your neighborhood park, make up a cyclocross course, like a 4 to 6 minute lap, and have fun with it. Do your corners and work on I think this goes to, well, we should just talk about number 7 and 8, because that's what you're going to,
So that's number 7 is get your gear. Basically, it's like now's the time you should be have your race bike dialed. It doesn't have to be, maybe the exact componentry or wheel set you're going to use. But I'm a big fan of, you should be doing a lot of your training rides on the bike you're going to race on this fall. So maybe put the road bike away, get the power meter on the cross bike. If you have to get different gearing, do that. But we want that position, where your hoods are going to be, what handlebars you're going to use, saddle height, everything. Start doing your work on that bike now, so that when cross season comes around, you're not jumping on a bike that feels foreign. So, I was lucky over the years to have, 3 bikes. I had my training bike and then 2 race bikes, and they were identical. My training bike maybe didn't have all the fancy parts, but the fit was identical and the frame was identical. Wow. So that's something I highly recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you go to the park at least once a week, and you're on your cross bike and you're getting to familiarize yourself with how it corners. A new bike is going to corner different than your old bike. So you're getting used to that. And then this is a big one, is tire pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So tire pressure is huge. I think a lot of people run too high of tire pressure just in general. And a lot of people don't train on their race wheels for obvious reasons. They don't want to damage them. Tubulars are expensive. But I think it's important. Like, you should go out and do these laps in the park on your race wheels with your race tires and play around with the different pressure. Like, one thing I try to tell people to do, and I would imagine that hardly anybody does this, but go to the park, bring your floor pump, bring your tire gauge, get your little mock lap going, okay, and do 1 lap at, let's just start at 30 pounds, super high. Drop it down
super high.
Wait till you see how low we're going to go.
God. Every time I pump up my gravel bike tires to 40, I'm like, oh my God, this is just too low. I don't like
youngster
roadies.
But we're also talking about tubulars now, where there's no tube to flat. And,
but if you're going to race, if you're just using tubeless, you could do the same exercise doing tubeless as well. And each tubeless tire is going to perform differently, from brand to brand, because of volume and tire construction. So start off at 30, drop to 20, do a few laps at 30, kind of make a mental note how it feels, do 25, go down to 20, bump it back up, then you start playing around with the front and rear. So you've got, do 21 or let's say 22 in the front and 24 in the back. And you'll find what feels good to you. It's like some people, someone who weighs 190 pounds versus someone who weighs 120, things are going to feel different. And
What are you looking for though?
basically you want maximum traction without feeling that tire like fold over too much in the corners when you're really kind of driving it.
Yeah.
Whether it's on an off camber or into a sharp corner. So if you start to feel it getting a little too soft, too mushy, you can feel like it gives and it doesn't stay.
It like rolls over, and then you're like, whoa.
Because that's when you like burp it or roll a tubie.
Yeah, and you got to find where that is what Brandon is saying, and then maybe add back in some PSI.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that might work for this local park that you're doing your laps at, but it could be different for a race you go to. Like here in Colorado, and we've got some dry, rocky mountain bike style courses, and then sometimes we get to do the grass races, and the tire pressures are going to totally vary. And I like to tell people to make notes of the tire pressures that they run during some training rides and races, so that they have it as a point of reference to go back and look at later.
And so getting that dialed in the summer just prepares you that much more.
Yeah. So when you show up to a race, you can be like, all right, I'm just going to start off at 22, 24 because I know that's my sweet spot, and I'll do my pre-laps, my pre-ride at that pressure. And if I feel like I've been bottoming out a lot, I'll bump it up a little so I don't flat. Or maybe if it's a softer day like mud or it's a lot of grass, you might lower it a little bit. And I say 22, 24. I mean, those are just random numbers I'm throwing out right now. So.
A lot as a newbie that switched over to tubulars, I think one of the revelations I had is by running lower pressure, it's going to feel way different on pavement or the sidewalk. It feels really good on like the dirt and the grass, but when you're on pavement, it's squishy. And when you sprint out of the saddle, the bike handle is a little bit different. And it's really nice to get used to that.
Yeah. I mean, just a couple points. I think that tubeless technology is going to continually improve. And I think that over time, I would say that less and less people are going to be using tubulars and more people will be using tubeless. It's just only going to get better and better. Yeah. And then back to low pressure, I think Katie Compton won nationals last year with 11 PSI
What?
front and rear.
Yeah.
It's blowing my mind.
It was so muddy.
Yeah.
And thick, and there was
that was a crazy course and year and stuff.
And there was no risk really of flatting because there wasn't a lot of sharp rocks hidden in the mud or things like that. So they were able to run really low pressure, which gave her tons of traction when she needed it. Wow. But if you watch videos of her like kind of rolling to the start line, I mean, if she had just turned a little, it was like it was going to fold over, so you just kind of gradually roll up to the start line.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think her rule is you should go low enough in pressure so you're bottoming out the rim at least on one spot of the lap.
Right. Yeah. So
folks out there, go low in practice and find out how low you can go.
Yeah, and another thing on that is we could talk all day about tires and pressure, but I know a lot of pros practice with their tubulars on, like because cornering on a clincher is going to feel different than a tubular. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, you should definitely do it.
I did that last year with my older pair of Clement PDXs. Yeah.
All right, let's go. We skipped a couple. Let's not talk too much about tires.
Yeah.
5 and 6 we still have to talk about.
So 5 is time to lose a few pounds. Basically what this is saying is like now you should start tracking your body weight. It's getting close to the start of the season. You want to lose weight. I mean, this is if you have to lose weight or you think you need to, or you're working with your coach to lose a few pounds. But you want to track it because you don't want to do like a flash crash diet type thing right before the season. It's just a recipe for disaster. So start trying to win in the kitchen, as Frank says. So eating good, clean foods, lots of fruits, vegetables, clean proteins, things like that. I'm a big fan of saying try to stay away from food that comes out of a can or a bag or a box. It's not always easy to do, but it's not that hard if you try.
And it's about that consistency,
Yeah.
you know. It's like why we start now, not a week before the season.
right. Or the night before, you know, something like that. Well, I'm not drinking a beer tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
well, good for
it's
you.
a little too late there.
Yeah.
The crossers they joke about, you know, beer and bacon.
Yeah.
And it's fun and everything, but
it just depends on what your priorities are, your goals
exactly.
are. I mean, there's some people, and that's the beauty of cross, or what I always loved about cross is it was like the community and the culture, and it was the beer hand ups and the bacon hand ups, and that's still part of it. But if you're going for, you know, you've got some goals, then you might want to.
Actually, if you went in the kitchen now, that could afford you a bacon hand up later in the summer, in the season.
True.
Yeah.
It's not going to really do much in the grand scheme of things.
That's right.
Not at all. So
6 is stretching.
Stretching.
We
So
kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, stretching, super important. We incorporate a lot of like the yoga glow stuff into the training programs. But really, if you don't have time to commit to something like that, one thing I talked about in one of my tips is just get yourself a fit ball 15 minutes before bed, just hang over that thing backwards, just stretch open your shoulders. I mean, we're sitting here today, we're all hunched over.
Yeah.
We're on a bike all day. If you were like me at one point, you were holding your baby. I mean, you're just like this, you know, and you stand up and you're just like, whoa, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, you're on the computer all day. Yeah.
So stretch out your hips, your shoulders, just kind of hang over that ball. I mean, if that was all you had time for, that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I think the one-legged balance poses in yoga is tremendous for your balance, because I was terrible at them. And I always found that yoga kind of helped my bike handling just from those one-legged balance poses. And we also have the Ninos workout where you're on the balance board, you're doing some agility, some little bit
core.
of core, light plyo work that really will help you be strong on the bike for better bike handling.
Yeah, it's funny when I watch all this Nino kind of stuff happening now with like, you know, all the riders doing their fitball balance and all that stuff.
Those weird rip row things. Have you seen those? Like that thing with the handlebars.
Yeah. Like all that stuff is, it's super valuable and it's getting popular. But I can remember, you know, 5-6 years ago when I had my shop, we had a little gym next door. And I would, instead of taking a lunch break, it was my lunch break when I had time to take lunch, I would run in there for 20, 30 minutes and I would like do push-ups on the fit ball, stand on the fit ball, do some squats, do some like twists, kneeling on the fit ball. Really a lot of that just balance, coordination, not really about like pushing a lot of weight. And I should have started a little, you know, YouTube channel back then. I'd be internet famous.
Your Instagram feed.
Yeah. I mean, I think it seems like core would be super important for cross because it's so dynamic, you know, and it's also just like all about efficiency, right? So it's like if you can keep a stable core as you're mounting, dismounting, cornering, you know, applying power down, that could be a really solid secret training aspect, for sure. You know, and something that a lot of times, a lot of cyclists tend to neglect across the board just because it's not riding your bike, you know.
Well, we have a tip for that.
I
don't know if it's on here, but it's basically one we had before on doing planks.
Oh yeah.
And I used to preach to myself and to other people, like when you finish your ride, just get inside, do it in the garage, just bust out a plank, you know, hold it for as long as you can. And we have a kind of a pattern where you know start for a minute, next week add 15 seconds, kind of build up from there. It's funny, it seems really simple when we say it here, like, oh, just give yourself 2 minutes after a ride to do it, but people don't do it, you know. They're kind of rushing off to get to their next whatever it is they have to get to, but it's only 2 minutes or it's only 3 minutes, it's only 4, you can do it, you know, and just,
while your Wahoo is uploading to Strava.
Right.
I started athletes on Brandon's 5-minute plank video or training tip, and they got up there no problem, but it was a deliberate practice beginning like in April, May, and June.
I
15
think,
seconds a week.
And I think some people should just put it on their training peaks, you know, and have it there, because if it's there, it looks like, you know, it looks like something you have to do.
Got to make it turn green.
Right. Make it turn green. Right.
All right, number 9.
Number 9, who's your buddy? Basically, this is finding somebody to train with. If you can find someone who's at your level, has a similar schedule to you, that can meet you for rides, go out and kind of mix it up with that person. If it's someone who's a little faster than you, that can be helpful as well. It makes you work a little bit harder. But it's just accountability, getting someone out there to do it with you. Especially as we get, this is more for later in the season, but as it gets colder and, it's good to have someone it's good to know you've got someone waiting for you to meet you. It'll get you out the door to go train.
Yeah. When it's November and it's chilly and you have to put on your warm clothes, it helps to meet a friend out there. Yeah.
And it'd probably be good to, you can create little courses and do little mock races and practice like riding close to each other or around corners and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Following a faster rider that's better than you at technical skills and trying to keep up with them. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we wrapped it up with number 10, which is pick one. So sometimes, you see these long lists of 10 tips and you're just like, oh crap, I can't do that. I can't, forget it. Well, just pick one, just pick one, maybe one per week, pick a couple, give yourself something that's achievable and doable and just check it off the list. And don't stress too much about it. Really what this is, it's just making smart choices, doing what you think is, doing what's important and just skip the fluff. So.
Yeah. And probably just that you probably agree that, the consistency is the focus here. It's just about maintaining that and not just like do it really acutely for a couple days and then let it go. So it's like, it's increasing it over time slowly, just like with weight loss or training in general. Quality over quantity. Over time.
Anything. You just have to keep practicing. You want to learn to play the piano. Well, it's not going to happen in a couple days.
Yeah.
That's like, it's what Secret Training originally is it's 1 hour a day. And if you're not on the bike, then you're doing your stretching, your planks, your yoga, your strength and agility work, or recovering or working on your nutrition or something. Do something every day for your cyclocross race.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Were we going to get you out there on the Cyclocross Summer Sweet Spot plan?
Maybe. I don't know.
We got to get you through the gravel season
first. I got to get through the gravel first.
Then we have another plan for you.
Yeah.
So, we'll get you on that. And we'll get you out to the park.
Yeah.
Work on your dismounts, remounts. And
I know. I need to do my bunny hops first.
when we have the cyclocross camp, we could teach people dismounting and remounting in an hour.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the fundamentals and the basics.
It might take you 2.
It might take me. it might take me a week. But
what we do though is we show them the fundamentals, the basics, but then we send them home, and that's something they got to work on every week.
I'm still afraid to bunny hop a curb.
Well, Brandon's got a 4-minute YouTube video.
I know that I filmed.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what.
No excuses.
No excuses.
now.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Cyclocross is coming. And for those of you out in the YouTube land, thank you for watching. We do we'll give it a 3-minute Hail Mary. How about that? And if you have any questions about cyclocross training in June, you can ask now. We also have a special cyclocross section in our new forum. So we'll post this podcast there. And if you have any questions after you listen, for those of you that are on Stitcher and iTunes and all that, go to our forum and post a question, and Coach Brandon will probably answer for you. Maybe even me.
Definitely not me.
I wonder if we have any questions from the forum. We could.
Yeah, check it out. I think someone yesterday, Ian, as I remember, hi Ian, he was asking about back pain and from cyclocross, and again, this goes back to Brandon's like point number 5 or 6 about stretching. We include a foundations video routine to follow on your recovery days every Mondays and Fridays, and it's a 12-minute routine. It's from Dr. Eric Goodman.
That we got to work on that link. It's
I've updated it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Dr. Eric Goodman used to have a it's a 12-minute video routine that we want you to follow. To his quote at the end of his video is, "Do this every day, no back pain ever." But he's a chiropractor. They have a business, and so they took their video off of YouTube and they put it on their company's website just to control traffic a little more.
Yeah.
So that is like foundationtraining.com. You'll find that video. On YouTube, it had like over 50 million views.
Damn.
Yeah. But that's the answer. For those of you who get cross back or have a weak back, I mean, basically you're sitting on a jackhammer in the race, but do this 12-minute video routine, strengthen your back and
the core and the stretching and
Yeah, and the foundation stuff is great. I've been doing that for years, and if you want to take it beyond the 12-minute video, they sell some DVD. It might be digital downloads now or whatever.
What's a DVD?
Exactly.
No, I'm not that young. Come on.
It's a VHS
beta. Yeah. I'm getting old.
I'm sorry. Couldn't
That
resist.
was good. But all the routines are really good, and if you kind of get bored of the 12-minute video, you can do some of this other stuff too. It's really great.
Yeah. Point being, if you have any questions about cyclocross training in general, go to the cyclocross section of our forum. Pre-race cyclocross nutrition is another one.
Yeah.
You just put out that training tip about what to eat on the morning of a race. So that's
This is something that is sort of like back to like skills and things you're working on now to get ready for the season. Well, what works well for you for pre-race food for cross? Because cross is so intense, sometimes you can't eat the same way you might eat for like a gravel race or a mountain bike race. So I talk about what works for me, what I think are good habits, how to prepare, and it's something you could try now. So if your coach has you plan to do like some really high intensity intervals on a weekend day, well, you could wake up and practice your pre-race meal routine, which might be eating like 3 hours before the workout or something like that. So that's all in there too.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening again. Next week, we will be at Excel Sports in Boulder, Colorado. The topic we'll be talking about our Coach's Buyer's Guide. Very frequently, at least 3 or 4 times a week as a coach, we get asked about products. What do you think? What should we buy? For gravel, like what tire should I ride in this gravel race? We'll say, well, the Donnelly LAS is great for this course.
No, that's a cross tire.
Sorry.
The MSO.
The MSO,
But
yeah.
I knew you meant.
Yeah, I won the Crusher on that tire tread,
Did
the
you?
LAS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that for gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so we get asked questions like that. And like the question I got yesterday was an athlete who was going to Europe, and he was like, what bike case should I buy? And so, we were online, talking about all the features of various bike cases, but we're going to be at Excel and we're going to break it down into what you should buy for $50, $100, $250, $500. And then if you want to spend $1,000, it's unfortunate that we're having that the week after Father's Day, but we'll have a discount code in there for you to use at Excel Sports for future Father's Days.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well,
Peace out.
Is this
Thanks.
what we do?
I guess, yeah. On behalf of Brandon and Brand Start, thank you all
Brandon squared.
for listening. And we'll see you again here next week, same bat channel.
Adios.
Thanks, everyone.